Good afternoon, Facebook. We are going live in about a minute.
Over there.
You have about 30
Spot,
seconds.
spot.
Sure. So there's a few X's over there too. If you want to just do 2 over there, and then we can do 2 over here.
Here or there, whichever you want.
Can't start without you. Sorry, can you tilt down a little? An hour or so? There you go. That's great. Okay. Pan a little right. Hold on. That's fine. Thank you. Got it.
I just texted you.
That's all set.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Dave Nisleit, who's Chief of Police for the City of San Diego, Charmaine Mosley, who's the Executive Director of Community Review Board, our city's Community Review Board on Police Practices, Norma Sandoval, who is the Board Chair of the Citizens Advisory Board on Police and Community Relations for the City of San Diego, as well as Betsy Brennan, who is the President and CEO of the Downtown San Diego Partnership. Today I'd like to provide a couple of updates. First, on public safety and protests. Second, on emergency meetings later this week to discuss potential policy changes within our San Diego Police Department and how we can bolster police and community relations. Also be talking about downtown cleanup efforts as well. But first, I want to start by saying that the vast majority of protests in San Diego are doing the right thing. And thank you for doing that. The protests last night and throughout the day today have been largely peaceful. Chief Nisleit is going to give an update on that in just a minute. San Diegans have an absolute right to peacefully assemble and speak out against systemic racism and to express their concerns. People want change. They want to be heard. And I want to thank those San Diegans for their willingness to work with the San Diego Police Department to peacefully protest. And I want every San Diegan involved to know that you matter and your safety matters. Our officers are there to support you and to facilitate your free First Amendment and freedom of assembly rights. That's why they're there. But we will not tolerate any acts of violence. We won't stand for anyone hijacking this moment to perpetuate violence in our city. Let's use this moment as a community. Let's use this moment to come together, to see what we can do differently. Yesterday, our chief announced that he is putting an immediate stop to the use of the carotid restraint. SDPD now joins a growing list of law enforcement agencies to make that decision. This is a step forward. It was the right decision, and I thank the chief for his leadership. In addition to yesterday's announcement, I directed the city's police advisory and oversight boards to hold emergency meetings this week. And the purpose of these meetings is to discuss what the San Diego Police Department what we can do as a department to most effectively serve our community, and what policies need to be updated or changed. Just because we've done things the same way for year after year after year doesn't mean we need to continue doing it that way. And there are really 2 main goals: taking a serious look at de-escalation recommendations that could be implemented by our department, and increasing and facilitating further dialogue and understanding between our officers, our men and women who are out there protecting us, and the community. The Citizens Advisory Board on Police and Community Relations will be holding its meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. I think there's some information on the screen of how you can join. The Community Review Board on Police Practices will hold its meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m. Both meetings are open to the public and will be streamed via the city's YouTube page. The website, as I said on the screen, will help provide additional info and how you can join. These meetings are opportunities for our community to continue to advocate for positive and lasting change. And that's what this is all about, and that's what yesterday's announcement by the chief was all about. Many are crying out to be heard. We are listening. Your city is listening. And now we want to turn those words into action. Actions are the most important. So I'm hoping folks can join for that very important community conversation. San Diegans want to come together to make this positive change happen, and that's what this time and what this moment is all about. Now I'd like to introduce Chief Nisleit, who's going to say a few words and provide some updates. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to give you an update on protests. As the mayor was saying, yesterday and today, numerous protests. And again, we're here to work with you. We want to help facilitate those peaceful protests. And largely, our protesters, again, were very peaceful. We did last night have some problems. We led to 17 arrests. And again, our message is, we'll facilitate everything you want to do as long as it remains peaceful. We will not tolerate assaults on law enforcement, and we will not tolerate looting to vandalism to basically just lawlessness. And so my message is to you is, if you want to come to San Diego and peacefully protest, we welcome you. If you want to come here to not do peaceful protest, you will be arrested. It's that simple. We're here to work with you. We understand your frustration. We understand you're angry. We're not happy about what happened either, and the officers are here to work with you and be part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, as I mentioned, we're happy to have two great representatives, some of our Community Relations and Police Oversight Board, who've been doing phenomenal work and really are working on some, I think, very important recommendations. First and foremost is Charmaine Mosley, who's the Executive Director of the Community Review Board on Police Practices, to say a few words about the board, what it will be doing next week. And Charmaine, on behalf of all of us, thank you for all of the hard work that you have put in and are continuing to put in for our city. Come on up.
Good afternoon. These last 2 weeks have been highly emotionally charged for everyone, which is understandable considering the senseless, tragic loss of the life of Mr. George Floyd and many others at the hands of someone whose job is to protect us. I'm a black female who has an adult black son, a black daughter, nieces, and nephews, so this pain is all too familiar to me. I want to thank Mayor Faulconer, Chief Nisleit, Council President Georgette Gomez, and Councilmember Monica Montgomery for being able to come together to do the right thing for the city of San Diego by banning the use of the carotid restraint by San Diego police officers. This is a good start to more policy changes. I want to also thank the Community Review Board on Police Practices, known as the CRB, the Racial Justice Coalition, the NAACP, and all the many activists who work tirelessly for social justice. We are in this together. The CRB is comprised of 23 volunteers who are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council. They review and audit investigations done by Internal Affairs and SDPD command staff to ensure those complaints are handled fairly, thoroughly, and completely. The CRB also reviews all officer-involved shooting cases as well as in-custody death cases. This board can also make policy recommendations to SDPD, and 90+% of the time, those recommendations have been approved. In addition to case review, the CRB is always looking for ways to continue identifying and improving community police relations and engaging in those difficult conversations. With that said, on Thursday, June 6th at 6 p.m., the the CRB will hold an emergency meeting on Microsoft Teams to discuss a recommendation they previously made to SDPD, asking for the police department to implement a de-escalation policy that is similar to Baltimore Police Department's de-escalation policy. At that meeting, the CRB will also be discussing the recent protests that has been happening in our communities and looking at SDPD's policy for protests. We are always listening to community concerns, and we are always encouraging community participation at our meetings. Tomorrow, the agenda will be posted on the CRB's website with instructions on how to submit public comment. Please do so. This concludes my comments, and thank you for your time.
Thank you again, Charmaine, and all of the members of the CRB board who are doing it because they love the city and how our police department functions and how we conduct community policing in the city of San Diego. Next, I'd like to invite up to say a few words Norma Sandoval. And Norma is the chairwoman of the Citizens Advisory Board on Police and Community Relations for the city of San Diego, another very important community-oriented board that will be doing some great work coming up this week. Norma.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I'm Norma Sandoval, Chairperson of the San Diego City's Citizens Advisory Board on Police and Community Relations, better known as CAB. This advisory board consists of members from all 9 cities council districts, a youth expert, police union representative, and other representatives from the community, 15 in total. The board was reconvened by Mayor Faulconer and former Council President Cole years ago to address issues that were challenging in our city. CAB was established to study, consult, and advise the mayor, city council, and chief operations officer on police community relations and crime prevention efforts. Secondly, CAB was formed to promote and encourage open communication and cooperation between the police department and residents of our city. We develop and make recommendations to inform the community of its rights and responsibilities when coming into contact with police officers. Finally, CAB functions as a method of communication with community participation in recommending and reviewing policies, practices, and programs designed to make law enforcement sensitive and effective to the needs of its citizens. Which brings me to today. As you are aware, yesterday, Chief Nisleit declared an immediate stop to carotid holds in the city of San Diego. This act has raised a lot of discussion in the area of de-escalation methods. If there's ever a time that CAB needs to hear the community and provide policy change recommendations, it is now. Tomorrow evening at 6, CAB is going to host a special board meeting to talk about the de-escalation of force policies for the San Diego Police Department to keep both our citizens and our officers safe. We want you to be part of this conversation. You will be able to view it on YouTube or from the city's website. Your thoughts and recommendations are important to us and our city's leaders. We want to thank Mayor Faulconer as well as Chief Nisleit and also the council members that have supported these efforts, the community leaders that have fought wholeheartedly in providing this move forward, as well as the CRB, the Community Review Board on Police Practices for their research and best practice on de-escalations. As a school administrator, I have seen the impact of restorative justice, how it has helped schools to address the disparities in discipline. It has been a very tough transition, yet one that was necessary and just. I know the road that lies ahead for San Diego City, it won't be easy. But having taught in diverse communities, including City Heights and Lakeside, I know there is common fabric that brings us all together. We all want to be safe, healthy, and secure communities where we can live in peace and tranquility. Let our city's policies reflect that vision. I hope you will all join us tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma, and thank you again, Charmaine. 2 community-driven boards that are listening, are soliciting input for positive change to a city that is listening, to a police department that is listening, but not just listening, but acting. So thank you for your involvement, and thank you for members of the public to be involved in these meetings coming up later this week. The next topic will be on downtown community cleanup efforts. While most of the protests, as you just heard the chief talking about over the weekend, have by and large been peaceful, our downtown did experience vandalism and damage in some areas on Sunday night. We have made it clear that this type of lawlessness will not be tolerated in San Diego. Windows can be replaced, of course, and the paint can be painted over, but the violent acts of a few don't represent the vast, vast majority of folks in our city that are peacefully protesting. What we did see on Monday morning was San Diegans really coming out to help in a phenomenal spirit, and I thank you. Grabbing a broom or pushing, putting out, helping to get our city and our downtown back on track Monday morning. In just a second, I'm going to have Betsy Brennan of the Downtown Partnership to talk a little bit about that. But I want to thank all of the volunteers. These were folks from all over the city who saw some of that and said that doesn't represent who we are. Thank you for coming. We had folks from every single neighborhood. They prove what we all know, is that the fabric of who we are as a community and as a city is so much better than the misguided actions of a very few. You can see by some of those photos on our screen. We were going to continue to work together. We're going to continue to heal together as a city as this happens. And again, I want to thank so many folks who came out who care about this city, who recognize what happens when those very, very few did not represent who we are. So Betsy Brennan and everybody with the Downtown Partnership, so many folks and our clean and safe teams that were out there early Monday morning, thank you. Thank you for the job that you are doing. And with that, Betsy, come on up and provide a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Faulconer. As the heart of our city, downtown is a place for us to come together as a community. It is equally home to celebration as it is to the processing of pain and grief, and the calls for justice and change that have been happening over the past couple of days. What we have seen over the course of these demonstrations is that our community gives so much, and there is much to be proud of. Not only that so many are ready to answer the call to stand together in the face of those injustices and demand substantive change, but that the overwhelming majority of those present in those crowds do so peacefully. Our clean and safe maintenance and safety ambassadors have been there each day to make sure our downtown neighborhoods continue to be clean and safe. On Monday morning, we put out a call to the community, and we had more than 100 volunteers show up ready to work. There were people from our downtown neighborhoods and from all over the city and region. They included demonstrators from the night before who said they saw some of the damage being done and wanted to come back to help. They included families from La Mesa who had recently took part in cleaning their very own community and wanted to help. This morning, after assessing the 275 blocks of downtown within our purview, our clean and safe teams reported far fewer incidents of vandalism, trash, and graffiti. With the help of our friends at Republic Services who volunteered for trash pickup and the passion and care of our clean and safe team, that we were able to resolve this very quickly. We have no doubt that downtown will continue to be the backdrop for important movements in our city's history, and we look forward to seeing the good that the results of this movement will bring to our region. We want to thank Mayor Faulconer, Chief Nisleit, and all of the members of the City Council for your support during this time. Our clean and safe team will continue taking service calls 24/7 and can be reached at 619-243-8900. We also encourage the community to make use of the city's Get It Done app to log things in your downtown neighborhoods that need attention. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Betsy, and thank you to everybody at the partnership and Clean and Safe for all of your efforts. That concludes today's updates. Thank you again to Norma, Charmaine, Chief Nisleit. Thank you all, San Diegans. I do not believe I don't see any questions from members of the media. Thank you again. That concludes today's update, and I look forward to tomorrow. Thank you.